It was supposed to be a quiet night. I'd been working non-stop for weeks, and when I saw an ad for a midnight screening of an old horror movie at the local theater, I jumped at the chance to escape my reality for a few hours. When I arrived, the lobby was completely empty, not a single soul. Odd, I thought, but I figured I was just early. The place was one of those run-down theaters with the worn-out velvet curtains and the sticky floors that looked like they hadn't been cleaned in years. I didn't care. I was too tired to be picky. I bought my ticket and made my way into the theater. It was dark and cold, the kind of cold that made your skin crawl. As I walked down the aisle, I noticed the seats were mostly empty, but there was one figure in the very last row, sitting motionless, staring at the screen. I settled into a seat near the middle. The previews rolled, and I tried to get comfortable. That's when I heard it. A faint whisper, so soft, I thought it was just the air conditioning. "He's here." I froze, unsure if I had heard it. I looked around. No one was sitting near me. The last row, where the lone figure was, seemed different somehow. The air around it felt thick, suffocating. I shook my head. Get a grip. It's just the movie. But then the whisper came again, this time louder and clearer. "He's coming." I turned to look at the figure in the back row. The person hadn't moved. They just watched. And I swear their eyes were locked on me. Panic rose in my chest, but I told myself it was nothing. I wasn't going to let a feeling ruin my night. But as I turned back to the screen, I noticed something else. The movie wasn't right. The images on the screen started to warp, flickering like a glitch. And then the screen showed me. I gasped. It was my face, on the screen, but twisted in a grotesque expression of terror. I leaned forward, heart racing, trying to make sense of what was happening. The audience was silent, too silent. Suddenly, the lights cut out completely, plunging the theater into complete darkness. I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. My pulse thundered in my ears. I reached into my bag to grab my phone, but it wasn't there. It wasn't in my pocket either. Then a voice. "You should have never come back." I spun around, but there was nothing. The whispers grew louder, surrounding me. I looked toward the back row. The figure was standing now, moving toward me with slow, deliberate steps. I froze. The face wasn't human. It wasn't mine either. It was something wrong. Before I could react, the lights came back on. The theater was empty. I was alone, but I wasn't alone. There, in the seat beside me, was my phone. On the screen, a message flashed. "You shouldn't have come. The movie isn't over. You're next." I bolted from the theater, running into the cold night. But when I looked back, I saw the theater's marquee light flicker on one last time. It read, "You're still here." What happened that night changed me forever. But the scariest part? I never left the theater. If you want to hear more about the things that happened to me after I left that night, check out my next video. The truth is far darker than you could ever imagine.